One Voice, a division of Full Cast Audio, presents With His Head Tucked Underneath His Arm, written by Bruce Coville and read for you by Cynthia Bishop.
With his head tucked underneath his arm. 15 kings ruled the continent of Losfar, and each one hated the others. Old, fat, and foolish, they thought nothing of sending the children of their subjects off on war after war after war, so that the best and the bravest were gone to dust before they ever really lived. The young men left behind fell into 2 groups: those who escaped the wars for reasons of the body, the weak, the crippled, the maimed, and those who avoided the wars for reasons of the mind, those too frightened, too smart, or simply too loving to be caught in the trap the kings laid for them. This last category was smallest of all, and a dangerous one to be in. Questioning the wars outright was against the law, and standing up to declare they were wrong was a quick route to the dungeons that lay beneath the palace. So it was only through deceit that those who opposed the wars could escape going off to kill people they had never met and had nothing against. One such was a cobbler's son named Brion, who had avoided the wars by walking on a crutch and pretending that he was crippled. Yet he chafed under the role he played, for he was not the sort to live a lie. "Why do I have to pretend?" he would ask his friend Michael, an older man who was one of the few who knew his secret. "Why must I lie when I am right and they are wrong?" But Michael had no answer, and since, much as Brion hated the lie, he hated even more the idea of killing some stranger for the sake of a war he did not believe in, he continued to pretend. One afternoon, when Brion was limping through the marketplace on his crutch, he saw an officer of the king's army beating a woman because she had fallen in his path. The sight angered him so much that without thinking, he stepped in to help the woman. "Leave her alone!" he cried, grabbing the officer's arm. The man pushed Brion away and raised his hand to strike the woman again. "Help!" she wailed. "He's killing me!" Brion hesitated for but a moment. Though he knew it would reveal his lie, he sprang to his feet and felled the man with a single blow. In an instant, he was surrounded by soldiers. Within an hour, he found himself chained to a dungeon wall with no one for company save the occasional passing rat, and no music save the trickle of the water that dripped endlessly down the cold stones. As the days went by, Brion began to wonder if he had been forgotten and would simply be left in his cell to rot. But late one afternoon, he heard the clink of keys in the lock. 2 uniformed men came into his cell, unlocked his chains, and dragged him to his feet. Gripping his arms in their mailed gloves, they hustled him to the throne room to face the king. "Is it true that you refuse to fight for me?" asked the king angrily. At the moment, Brion's main fight was with the lump of fear lodged in his throat. But he stood as straight as he was able and said, "It is true. I cannot kill a man I have never met for the sake of a war I do not believe in." The king's jowly face grew scarlet with rage. "Let the court see the treason of this speech. Let it be recorded so that all will understand why this rebellious youth is being put to death." 3 days later, Brion was marched to the public square. His weeping mother stood at the front of the crowd, shaking with sorrow as the guards escorted her son up the steps to die. Pushed to his knees, Brion laid his head on the block. He heard his father
Sample complete. Ready to continue?